Good evening, everyone. Let's wait for a couple of minutes for everyone to join in.
Hi, everyone. Hi.
Okay, I see more people joining us. So let's wait just a few more minutes and then we can start pretty soon. Yes, we will get a recording of today's event. Towards the end of the webinar, we'll have a Q&A. So please post your questions on the Q&A box that you see at the bottom of the screen. All right, we have 49 attendees now. Okay. It's just 50. Okay. Shall we start? Let's give it 2 more minutes before we start. Start at 5:05. The session will be roughly about 1 hour. We should be able to end by 6 p.m. All right, let's start. Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is James, and together with me, I have Linton. So
Hi,
today
everyone.
we're going to share with you SAP HANA, and let's start off by sharing with you on some basic information. Okay, so I think one of the first question that I'd like to ask everyone is, why is ERP important? So if you guys don't know what's ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. And I'm sure some of you might have seen the legacy systems previously. And this is an example of a legacy ERP system by IBM. And of course, today, with the evolution of technology, our ERP system is definitely much better. And why ERP? Because number one, ERP improves your business efficiency. ERP can help to integrate with third-party systems, and it ensures compliance and make tasks easier for employees. And when we talk about ERP, we look at the market, and this is some numbers from Statista, and it shows that ERP is growing. In Singapore alone, by end of this year, the ERP system value is worth 43 billion. And some other things that you can also take note is that for ERP, there is AI integration, there's cloud, and also there's IoT integration. Okay, so I shall pass on the time to Linton. And Linton, I will share with you, I'll make you the host so you can share.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you. Let me share my screen. Okay. Cool. So I'm sharing my screen right now. Okay. So, hi everyone. Hi, my name is Linton. And as James said, together we are just going to give you a brief introduction into what you can expect when you attend this HA 100 course. Now, just so you know from the get-go, this course is designed for everybody. So it has a little bit of something for every different role that you might find yourself in occupying inside of SAP. So if you're an end user, if you're an executive, if you're a data modeler, if you're a developer, all these different roles we will sort of touch on from a HA 100 perspective. Ultimately, what this course does, it is a 3-day course, and as the name suggests, it is the HA 100 360-degree introduction. Basically just pointing out the fact that it is a robust and holistic view into what is SAP HANA. Because I mean, I'll be honest with you, myself and many other people that I know of who have been in the SAP industry for a while, have at some point or another asked themselves, what is SAP HANA? Why do we keep hearing about this thing called HANA? Some people say it's a database, some people say it's a digital platform. We call it a real-time database, but what makes it real-time? We call it a platform that's able to consume advanced data types. What about HANA allows us to be able to use advanced data types? Ultimately, what we're talking about is this HANA course is dedicated to pretty much answering the question, what is HANA? It is an introductory course, so we don't go into too much detail, but we do make sure that at the end of the 3rd day, when you walk away from this course, you will definitely have a functional understanding of what is SAP HANA, how does it work, what does it do, what makes it unique, what makes it special, what makes it different, etc. Okay, so this is a SAP HANA course. It's 3 days. And in this course, we will take our time and we will discuss what is SAP HANA, how does it work, and we will look at SAP HANA, as I mentioned, from different perspectives, from a data modeler perspective, from a developer's perspective, from a manager's perspective, etc., etc. And along the way, in this course, we will have exercises that allow us access to training systems where we log on to a training environment built on top of SAP HANA, and we execute certain activities and certain tasks that allow us to get a hands-on feel for what is SAP HANA. So as I've said, at the end of the third day, when we complete this course, you will have at least a conversational understanding of what is SAP HANA. So the next time you ask or you hear somebody ask the question, what is SAP HANA? I keep hearing about HANA, but I'm not quite sure what it is. You can at least step in and say, I can tell you what is SAP HANA. I can give you a foundational understanding of what is SAP HANA. Okay. A little bit about myself. I won't take too long on this. I started in SAP as a basis consultant. I am also a solution manager consultant. I am, of course, also an SAP trainer. And I have a few other qualifications behind me from an academic perspective. And I have also been fortunate to work in many different industries, and we see most of those industries listed there as well. So let's just get into it. Like I said, I'm not going to take too much of your time. I'll just give you the key points that you need to know to expect when you attend this, or should you decide to attend this HANA course. So the first thing we need to know is SAP HANA is a future-facing technology. In other words, it is a technology that was designed by SAP for the future. So what does mean? What that means is what SAP did was SAP looked at the environment and looked at the way the IT world was currently structured and identified a demand for a technology that allows customers to continue working the way that they work, but using advanced technologies to enhance what we can loosely refer to as the competitive advantage. So from a simple perspective, HANA is still in a database, but it is an advanced database, meaning with SAP HANA, we can still run our business in the way that we would like our business to be run, but we can supplement and we can complement and enhance the way we run our business using SAP HANA, using the advanced functionalities that come with SAP HANA. So the digital future, SAP HANA is a future-facing technology. It is designed for businesses to thrive, not just to do well, but to thrive in the future. So HANA allows us to work with new types of data available and from everywhere. So it's 2021 now, and we know that there are many types of data available to us as humans. And there are a lot of types of data that we generate, and there's new types of data that we create. And what's important from an organizational perspective is for us to be able to leverage these new types of data. It is important from an organizational perspective for us to be able to take these new types of data and use these new types of data, as I mentioned, to enhance our competitive advantage. And that's what HANA does. HANA plays nice with everybody. HANA is able to consume many different types of data, cloud data, big data, streaming data, spatial data, textual data, a whole host of different types of data, allowing us to take those new forms of information and then manipulate those new forms of information and use that new information to do what we've currently been doing in a far better manner. So HANA allows us to use new types of data and to enhance the way that we work by complementing our current ways of working by using advanced types of data. We also talk about this idea of data science being accessible to the business. So this is one of the exercises that we will do in the course, where we looked at how HANA has simplified the area of data science. So formerly, data science was quite a daunting task. It was quite complicated and it required a very unique and particular skill set, which typically also came at quite a high price. But with SAP HANA, we have simplified data sciences generally, meaning we have removed a lot of dependencies. So formerly, if a staff member or a end user of SAP wanted to build a report, they would need a set of data to be modeled in a way that that report can consume the information in that model of data. And that created a dependency because we would need to get in a skill set of a data scientist, and that data scientist would be required to build a data model so that the staff member or the end user can create a report to access that data. With SAP HANA, we have simplified that. So as I mentioned, there is an exercise in the course where we actually go ahead and we build our own types of data models. So we access different types of tables and we merge these tables, we join the tables, we extract data, we move data around, and we show you in this exercise how much easier it is for a common end user to build their own types of data models according to their own requirements, therefore removing any sort of dependency on data scientists. But at the same time, we leave the complexity of real data science where it belongs. So that means that any type of still remaining complex data science requirements, so if there is still data models that need to be created, but these data models are more complicated than the skill set of the end user, well, then we can take that complexity and we can leave that complexity in the hands of the actual data scientists. Basically speaking to this idea, as we see here, that data science is now accessible to the business. So the business themselves, the end users, can actually have the ability to create their own types of data models, therefore speeding up the efficiency with which we generate value. Because as I've mentioned, our employees no longer need to wait on data scientists to build all of the data models, but now our staff, our internal end users can build their own data models on the fly as required, allowing them to speed up the rate at which our staff members would generate value. Also, more mobile devices are available in more hands, and also more things are connected. So that just speaks to the idea that there has been and there is still an exponential rate of growth when it comes to the amount of mobile devices connected just in the world in general, right? Most people nowadays have 2 cell phones, 2 laptops, 1 tablet, a desktop PC, etc. And all of these devices are generating data, but all of these devices are also connected to one another. And the networks of connectivity that all of these devices are using are all generating data and information. And what that means is we need a platform, or we need a technology that allows us to once again leverage these new types of data. And in this case, we need a technology that is able to leverage the networks and extract the value from these networks so that we can take that value, we can take that information, and we can again enhance the way that we run our business. Quite simply, the world is becoming increasingly digital and highly connected, and SAP HANA is the platform or the technology that we use to take advantage of the digital future and also to position ourselves in the best position possible so that we can or we are able to handle the challenges that come with a digital future. So I mentioned this idea already of any data from anywhere, and this is just a continuation of that, just giving you insights into the different types of data. So with HANA, we can deal with structured and unstructured data, graphical data, textual data, series data, spatial data, streaming data, and more coming. In other words, just speaking to this idea that the list goes on. It's not just what we see here. Just bearing in mind, again, what we're talking about is the fact that SAP HANA can consume all these new types of data and allow us to generate new business value. So if we look at spatial data, for example, if we are a financial institution, and currently we already have data on the buying habits of our customers, we can use SAP HANA along with SAP's HANA ability to also understand spatial data, and we can take that spatial data and we can overlay it on top of our current customers' buying habits data. And from that, we could generate a report that's maybe just quite simply a map. And on this map, we can actually see hotspots, certain areas on this map that highlights unique characteristics of the buying habits of our customers. And as a financial institution, from that, we can then go ahead and generate or produce products or produce services that actually speak directly to the buying habits of our customers in the unique and specific locations that have been identified because we use SAP HANA spatial data. Okay, that's just one example. Of course, there are many more examples we could potentially use. Regardless of location, the blue blocks, that just speaks to, again, this idea that HANA plays nice with everybody. So with SAP HANA, we can connect enterprise systems, we can connect data warehouses, we can connect remote databases, so maybe databases that don't belong to our organization, maybe databases that belong to our partners. We can connect to those databases of our partners, and we can share information through that connection, and then we can go ahead and leverage the data from our customers, our partners inside of our organization. We can also connect to cloud locations, and we can even connect to something like sensors. So sensors would be a reference to IoT, which is your Internet of Things. Again, going back to the first slide, IoT just speaks about this idea of having these networks of devices that are all connected to one another, and we need sensors on these devices to monitor these devices and then continuously send data back into SAP HANA. And then we know that as this data is continually sent into HANA, HANA has the ability to consume this data continually. Or another way we can call that is streaming data. So we could have sensors from millions of devices that are sending this data back in large volumes back into SAP HANA, and we can rest assured that SAP HANA has the capacity and it has the functionality to quite easily handle large volumes of data being streamed continuously into HANA, and we can rest assured that our data will still be of the highest integrity, and we can rest assured that there will be there will be very little or no inconsistencies in our databases, because HANA is able to interact and connect to many different types of data sources and handle all the different types of data loads that are put upon the technology platform. So one of the things that make HANA particularly unique and different is that HANA is what we call a real-time database. And why we call it a real-time database is because SAP HANA is designed to run entirely in memory. So traditionally, we would have our database with all our information stored in a database. In a storage layer, like a disk. Imagine like the C drive on your computer, just a general storage device would be where your database would be stored, like an Oracle database, for example. And whenever data needed to be processed by a user's request, the request would find the data in the database, which is stored in a disk or storage, and then pull that data out of the storage level, push it into the memory, and then the memory would be where the data would be processed and consumed. We've moved away from that, right? We've moved into what we call now, where we have our entire database running in memory. So with SAP HANA runs entirely in memory. And the key points for that is that allows us to refer to HANA as a real-time database, because accessing data stored in memory is extremely faster than accessing data stored in a storage level, for example, a database stored at a disk level. So what that means is now that SAP HANA, or since SAP HANA is a database designed to sit entirely in memory, that means that the access to information stored in that database which is sitting in memory, is extremely fast, so fast that to us it seems real time. There is no delay, there is no waiting period. The moment you need to process data, that data is already in memory because it's sitting inside of HANA, and HANA is sitting in the memory. So therefore it is in memory, and the speed at which we can access and process that data is considered real time. It is immediate. It is right here, right now. So traditionally, we would have an end user would need to process some sort of data. They would create a request for that data. That request would go down into the storage layer, your hard drive, where the database exists. It will find the data that it requires. It will pull that data out of the storage level, out of the database in the storage level, push that memory and that data into the memory, and then from memory, that data would be processed and then sent back to the user. Again, with HANA, we don't do that. HANA is an in-memory database, so access to the data is extremely fast. It's lightning fast, and to us, it will seem like it's real time. Okay, and in this course, we will break down the slide more, and we will talk about the two different types of memories, dynamic RAM and persistent memory, and then we'll look at the pros and cons of which memories are best to use in which particular circumstances. Pushdown processing. This is a continuation from the previous slide, and pushdown processing just speaks to the idea of traditionally we would have had a request from a user which would go down into the database. The request would find the data that the user requires. That data would then be pushed back up into memory, and the application layer would be responsible for processing that data. With HANA, we don't do that. We've swapped the entire process around. With HANA, we do all the calculations in the database itself. So remembering that HANA is an in-memory database, what happens is a user request goes down to the HANA database, which is stored in memory, and inside of the SAP HANA database, it has all of the algorithms, all of the calculations, and all of the functionality of an application server to process the data inside of the database itself. Okay, so let me rephrase that, so maybe in case that didn't make sense. SAP HANA is what we call a digital processing platform. In other words, SAP HANA, even though we consider it a database, SAP HANA also has its own application server built into it. And in this course, we will discuss how does that application server work, and what are some of the key characteristics that we need to be knowledgeable of to understand how HANA now does processing and data storage inside of one technology. So in other words, how HANA works is we move all the calculations down to the database. So inside of the database, our data will be stored here, and our calculations will happen here in the very same database. And once that data has been consumed and correctly processed, only the results will be sent back to the customer. SAP HANA platform. So SAP HANA comes in ideally two different flavors, on-premise or variations, which is on-premise or cloud. And then we do also get an option for hybrid, which is a mix between an on-premise deployment as well as a cloud deployment. And in the course, we will talk about what are the key differences between on-premise, between cloud, and between hybrid, and how do we identify which scenario is right for us as a customer. So which customers would prefer on-premise, which customers would receive better value from cloud, which customers would be better suited to use a hybrid deployment scenario. And then inside of SAP HANA, as I mentioned on the previous slide, SAP HANA is a digital processing platform. So unlike traditional databases that only stored data, SAP HANA can store data, and it can also process data as well. And in this slide, we just see some of the key examples of what that might entail. So inside of SAP HANA has application services, such as a web server, allowing us to host web services on SAP HANA. or it has a feature or a functionality called the Fiori UX. And the Fiori UX is just a new interface designed by SAP that is designed around the user experience. It is an intuitive, user-friendly, intelligent interface that actually changes as you work and actually adapts itself to the way that you work as well, making just the way that you work generally easier. So if you've seen Fiori before, you'll know that it's a very simplified user interface compared to the traditional SAP logon GUI, which had a lot of buttons and fields and icons, and it gave you a lot of information that most of the time you would never actually work with. Whereas with Fiori, it is a user-friendly, simplified, powerful user interface. We also get a lot of processing services inside of SAP HANA. So when you run SAP HANA, you can take advantage of its ability to understand spatial data, predictive analytics. It can consume series data and even text analytics and a whole host of different types of data. So if we looked at predictive, for example, SAP HANA has the ability to provide you with suggestions and recommendations and predictions on the data that you have at hand, allowing you to make better decisions in a situation where you are required to look at information and then make a decision for the continuity of your organization. Integration services speaks to, again, the idea that SAP HANA plays nice with everybody. SAP HANA is designed on an open platform concept, the idea of it, meaning SAP HANA can integrate with most other softwares, and it's able to connect to many different types of data sources and allows information to be shared quite freely inside and outside of the HANA environment. And then lastly, at the bottom, we have our database services. And this is more of a technical view of HANA. So this is the nuts and bolts. This is where we lift up the bonnet and we have a look inside of SAP HANA. We look at what does columnar storage mean? What does it mean when we talk about HANA being able to merge transactional and analytical processing? We look at how does HANA use something called multi-core parallelization. So how does HANA take advantage of the technological advances that the IT industry has seen? For example, how does HANA use multiple cores to process multiple streams of data at one time? In other words, allowing us to use HANA as a real-time database. We will look at the idea of advanced compression, multi-tenancy, data modeling as well. So data modeling again would be how can we as end users develop our own data models without having to rely on the data science skill set. And then right at the end, we've also got the high availability as well as disaster recovery, just speaking really to this idea of peace of mind. So if you're a financial institution and you are considering SAP HANA, but because you are a financial institution and you intend on running mission critical applications on SAP HANA, in the area of high availability and disaster recovery, we have a discussion around what are the functions, what are the features that SAP HANA has that provides the customer with peace of mind to ensure that they can very safely run their mission critical applications and software on the SAP HANA platform. At the end of the day, we as customers would like to identify as an intelligent enterprise, and an intelligent enterprise would be a future-facing enterprise that takes advantage of advanced technologies, such as artificial intelligence, machine learning, predictive analytics, and all of these intelligent technologies would obviously enhance the features that we as an organization might offer to the market. So we will use artificial intelligence and machine learning to enhance the customer experience, or to enhance our people engagement scenarios, or to even take better control of our network and spend management. And all of these key features, all of these advanced technologies are all underpinned they all sit upon the foundation of SAP HANA as a digital platform. So if we want to be an intelligent enterprise, if we want to enhance our customer experience by using chatbots, or if we want to get, as I said, better control of our network and spend management by analyzing the way that we spend money in our organization and then get suggestions on better ways that we can control our, let's say, travel expenditure, SAP HANA would be the product that allows us to really leverage and take the best advantage possible for using these intelligent technologies. Okay, so that's just a very, very brief breakdown of what to expect. As I mentioned, this is a 3-day course, and I mean, I've just given you a half an hour quick introduction into what you can expect. Of course, I'd love to speak more on the topic, but we'll save that for the actual course itself. So there are 3 days of this course. In the first day, we will describe and introduce what is SAP HANA from the ground up. So if there were certain concepts that you might not understand, so earlier when I spoke about memory, or when I spoke about OLTP and OLAP, if that didn't make any sense to you, that's fine. This is just a brief introduction. On day 1, we'll take our time and I will explain all these concepts to you. And gradually over the days, as the days progress, we will then start at the bottom and we will gradually build, and I will give you more information, and we will see how all these key points that I've mentioned today, we will see how all these areas fit into the larger SAP HANA picture. So day 1, we will describe and introduce what is SAP HANA from the ground up. So we'll start with the assumption that you don't know what HANA is. This is your first day in IT. We'll start there, and we'll gradually build up your working knowledge of what is SAP HANA. We'll also understand the hardware requirements that need to be in place to run SAP HANA. So we will look at what are the prerequisites, what are the expectations, what are the things you need to have in place so that you can successfully deploy and run SAP HANA. And then at the end of the first day, we'll also explain the different types of views used to display data using SAP HANA. So this is where we touch on the idea of data modeling. So we'll look at what is a calculation view, what is a dimension view, what is a cube with star join. And again, if you don't know what any of these terms mean, that's absolutely fine. This course is designed for people like you. We will start at the bottom and we will build up all of this information nice and incrementally so that it all does make sense to you. Day number 2, we'll understand how SAP HANA was built to integrate with many other software products. So for example, we will talk about the concept of ETL, extraction, transformation, loading. So we will look at how does HANA extract data from data sources, how does HANA transform that data, and then how do we successfully store that data inside of tables inside of SAP HANA. Again, if you've never heard of ETL before, absolutely fine. This course is designed for you. We will explain exactly what is ETL from the ground up. We'll also look at how data warehousing is used inside of SAP HANA. So we will look at SAP BW, and then we'll also look at something called the SQL data warehouse. And ultimately in this course, or in day 2, we will look at if you are a customer that uses BW, so business warehousing, we will look at how does business warehousing fit onto and with SAP HANA. And we will also look at how do we build a custom and unique and specifically tailor-made data warehousing environment specific to you as a customer and your requirements using SAP HANA. Then in day 3, we'll explain the components of Business Suite powered by HANA. So we will look at how does SAP HANA support other SAP products, in this case, the Business Suite. We'll also look at developing apps with SAP HANA. So we will look at the XS server as well as the XSA server. And earlier I mentioned to you that we refer to SAP HANA as a digital platform or a digital business platform. And I mentioned to you that one of the key features of SAP HANA is that SAP HANA stores data, and it also has built-in application server functionalities. And those built-in application server functionalities is what we discuss on the third day. So we will look at the XS server and we will look at the XS Advanced Application Server built into SAP HANA. Again, if you don't know what any of that means, perfectly fine. This course is then designed for you, and we will have a discussion about what is XS Server and what is the XS Advanced Server as well. And then we will finish off the course by looking at how do we monitor the HANA environments and what are some of the tools and features and skills that we would need to be comfortable with when we are administrating the HANA environment. And then lastly, we will look at the security and protection of sensitive data. So that's obviously important. Even though it's lost, it's still very important. We will look at the different roles that you can expect in HANA, particularly the security role. We will look at how do we control who has access to what. So how do we control who has access to tables? How do we control who can see what specific types of data is stored in those tables? And we will also even look at how do we protect sensitive data. So if we've got inside of our HANA environments, if we are storing human resource tables, and in those human resource tables, we have salary data, which should not be accessible to anybody. We will look at how do we, what can HANA do to scramble that sensitive salary data so that certain people are able to see specifically the salary values, and maybe other people would only be able to see the scrambled data, therefore protecting sensitive data and making sure that sensitive data is only visible to the right people, and anyone else who does not need to see that data will not see that data. Okay, so those are the 3 days. And again, I just want to reiterate, if at any point during this very short half-an-hour presentation, if at any point you felt that I might have mentioned a topic to you, or a concept, or a word, or a phrase that you might not be familiar with, or you might not be comfortable with, that's fine. That means you are the right person for this course, because in this course, we will break down all of these concepts and we will explain all of the missing, all of these pieces that I've mentioned to you. And we will make sure that at the end of the 3rd day, when we say our goodbyes, you have a very strong working knowledge of what is SAP HANA, and you are able to have a conversation with other SAP people about what is SAP HANA, what makes HANA unique, what makes HANA special. And also, as I've mentioned, because there are exercises in this course, you would have had hands-on experience to get a feel for what SAP HANA is all about. And ultimately, you will leave feeling confident and assured in your knowledge of SAP HANA as well. Okay, so the last slide is the learning journey. So this course, HA100, is again just an introduction. It's just to get you familiar with what to expect in the SAP HANA ecology, right? But if you would like to take things further, if you would like to become certified in some of the areas that we discuss in this course, so if you would like to be certified as a HANA administrator, or certified as a HANA developer, or maybe you would like to be certified as a HANA data modeler or an architect, these SAP learning journeys will show you the courses that you would need to attend to ultimately attempt the exam, pass the exam, and then become a recognized SAP consultant, become a certified SAP consultant. Okay, so that brings me to the end of my little area. I hope it was informative. And again, I just want to reiterate and just to stress once more, this course is designed for everybody. So if you have many years of HANA experience or SAP experience, this course will still work for you because you can learn about the evolution of SAP So if you've got many years of experience in SAP, you can compare what you currently know from your many years of experience to the direction that SAP is taking from a HANA perspective. Or if you are somebody new to SAP and you would just like to know more about HANA because you know that HANA is the future of SAP, and if you can learn HANA now, you have positioned yourself in an excellent position for the future of SAP, because SAP is focusing very heavily on SAP HANA. So ultimately, this course is for everybody. If you're very experienced in SAP, this course is still for you. But if you are completely new to SAP and all of these terms that I've mentioned are go completely over your head, that's perfectly fine. You are still the right person to attend this course, and we will take you step by step through the process of ultimately becoming a reliable consultant and a certified SAP HANA consultant as well. Cool. So thank you very much. My name is Linton, and I hope this has been informative. And I will stop sharing my screen and back to you, James. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Linton. Thank you very much. So I will quickly share with everyone the pricing for SAP HANA HA100. Linton, if you may, you can let me be the host. And while I'm sharing those, we will address your questions and answer very, very shortly. Okay, let me share the screen. Okay, good. So can everyone see the screen? Yes. Okay, so for the course, for the SAP HA100 introductory course, it's a 3-day course. It's 22.5 hours. And there is a 1-hour written assessment. So in terms of prerequisite, who should attend? Anyone who is interested to learn about SAP HANA can attend. Typically, it's suitable for application consultant, change manager, business analyst, application developer, BI and BW consultant, data scientist, database administrator, SAP HANA project manager, support staff. There's absolutely no prerequisite because this is a basic course. And Linton has shared with you what are the key takeaway for this course earlier on. In terms of the pricing, the full course fee is 3,003. After the IBF funding, you only need to pay 10% of it. And for individuals, the amount will be $353. And you can actually use your SkillsFuture credit to offset, as well as UTAP to offset this amount. We have a number of classes in November and December. So in November, we will have 2 classes, and in December, we have 2 classes. It's very simple to sign up. Just need to register and reserve a spot on our website. You can scan a QR code here. I will share with you guys later. Once you come into our SAP HANA website on NTUC LearningHub, you will see a reserve a spot. You can just click straight on the reserve a spot, and it will bring you to the next page where you can register as a self-sponsored individual or as a company-sponsored trainee. Okay, so for IBF funding, for company-sponsored training, you have to be in a finance company. Okay, I will just stop at this point. And later, I think we can start to answer some of the Q&A that's posted.
Okay, no problem. I'm just finishing off this responding here. We need to. Okay, just give me 1 second. Okay, so sorry, while you were talking, James, I was just responding to some of the people. Okay, cool. So I can see there are 21 open questions left. Let's see if we can try to address some of these. Okay, so the first one is, and I do apologize if I say your name incorrectly. So the first one is Eunice. Is this so-called memory in the cloud? Yes. So all you need to understand is when you are running SAP HANA in the cloud, or if you're using SAP HANA in the cloud, you will still be running your environment on SAP HANA. Therefore, you will still be taking advantage of the advanced memory features that you get with HANA. But we don't go into too much technical detail from that perspective. For us, we just need to understand that whether you run on-premise or whether you run in the cloud, you can still expect to get the same advanced features such as real-time responses, which is a product of SAP HANA being a in-memory database. LW Quick, HANA is another cloud software. Oh, the wrong button. HANA is another cloud software. HANA is we subscribe to HANA services. So if we decide to use cloud, SAP HANA provides you with cloud services, and these cloud services use SAP HANA. Therefore, these cloud services provide you with the features of SAP HANA. So it's not necessarily a cloud, it is sort of a cloud software, but don't think of it as something that it's a product. It's more a case of its services that we subscribe to that exist in the cloud, meaning if you're a customer that doesn't want to have an on-premise deployment, so if you're a customer that does not want to have actual technical hardware, or maybe you don't want to be responsible for technical hardware, you can subscribe to the service in the cloud and you can still use the services offered by SAP HANA, except you will be using the services in the cloud. Therefore, you do not need to assume the cost or the maintenance resources to maintain and run an on-premise technical environment. Anonymous, how does SAP HANA work with SAP Concur? Can you share an example? Answer live. We don't really talk about that in this course. So for our purposes, we just need to understand that we can integrate Concur, or we can use Concur as a service from the cloud. How is this compared to IBM Cloud or AWS? How is this compared to IBM Cloud or AWS? Well, IBM Cloud, I really don't know much about it. As for AWS, AWS is your Amazon Web Services. So if you do decide to use SAP Cloud Services, you would be expected to subscribe to AWS. And then once you have access to an Amazon Web Service platform, you would then log on to SAP HANA, the SAP environment, and you can actually deploy a SAP S4 HANA system onto your AWS platform in a matter of about an hour, half an hour to an hour. I have some knowledge of SAP B1. I think you mean BI. Punyavati. I'm not too sure what you're trying to say there, but we do discuss BI or BW and data warehousing in this course as well. What is the difference of SAP HANA and SAP B1? I'm not too sure what SAP B1 is. But in this course, if you attend, we will take you through the process of what is SAP HANA, and when you attend, I guess you'd get the answer to the question that you are asking me. Anonymous, does this training provide any certifications, as SAP mostly have certifications? So yeah, we spoke about that already. There is no certification or exam for this course, but obviously if you go further and you dedicate yourself to becoming a developer, HANA developer, or a HANA architect, or a HANA administrator in that regard, then there are certificates available to you.
Yeah. Just to add on, I think for the SAP course, the HA100, we will also provide our NTUC certificate, which is the certificate,
yes.
certificate of completion. Yeah.
Okay, yes, that's correct. Yeah, thank you, James. Okay. Anonymous attendee, is there any prerequisite IT knowledge to take this course? Not really, no. I will explain to you everything you need to know within the confines of this course. So anything that I've mentioned in this presentation And of course, anything that I mentioned in the course, when you attend, you're more than welcome to just put your hand up and say, Linton, I don't understand it. Please may you explain it to me and I will explain it to you. So there isn't really a requirement. This is an introductory course. It's for anybody, whether you have SAP knowledge or IT knowledge, or you have no SAP or IT knowledge. I will take you through the process of filling the gaps that you might be missing so that you do understand at the end of the third day, what is SAP HANA? This course covers cyber security using SAP HANA. Not really, no. We just talk about certain very entry-level securities, such as analytical privileges, system privileges, and also the protection of sensitive data. But we really don't dive too deeply into anything specific to cyber security. SAP has many. Why SAP HANA? SAP has many. Why SAP? I'm not quite sure about that question, but again, you can attend the course and hopefully I'll be able to answer that question when we obviously discuss the material at length. Do you need statistical background to learn SAP HANA? Probably for maybe one of the more special courses, like maybe if you attend the analytical course or the data architect course or the data modeling course, then maybe. But for this particular HA100 course, no, you don't need any sort of statistical background. You just need focus and attention, and you just need 3 days to sit down and listen to me. There's no requirement for you to have any sort of statistical background. Our security, I'm sorry, Mary Ling, our security and protection of sensitive data is related to IT general control of user access rights. IT and protection of secure sensitive data is related to IT general control or user access rights. Okay, so if I'm understanding the question, we sort of discuss it from both perspectives, really. We talk about IT, the general IT perspective. So for example, who has access to what systems? And then we also go a little bit more detail and we talk about, for example, how do we create something called an analytical privilege, which determines even specifically like what rows of tables will a particular user have access to. But we don't, in this course, this particular HA100 course, we don't deal with like authorizations or or permissions or anything like that. Will this course prepare us for which SAP certification exam? This course will position you in the best possible position to make a decision on what other courses, SAP HANA courses, you would like to attend. And then from that, you would be able to decide which would be the best certification exam for you. So you sit through these 3 days and then you realize, hey, you know what, BW is quite interesting to me, or maybe security is quite interesting to me. Therefore, you can attend the BW course and get the BW certificate after writing the exam, or you can attend the security course and then write the security exam and then get the security certificate thereafter. Is this a data visualization tool similar to Tableau? It is quite similar, but we don't deal with it in this course. We just talk about the idea of SAP Lumira. We don't talk about Tableau, but we talk about something like SAP Lumira or something like Crystal Reports, which are all just tools that allow us to create visual interpretations of the data stored in our HANA environment. HANA is different from VMware, not particularly, no, they're two separate things, but they have a symbiotic relationship. In other words, they work together, they have to work together. So earlier I mentioned this offhand, I mentioned the concept of multi-tenancy. Okay, let's not talk about multi-tenancy, let's just stick to this. So what you can do is you could have one host And on that host, you could have multiple VMs, and each of those VMs could have their own HANA deployment. So they aren't really competing. They have a symbiotic relationship. The one supports the other. We can use VMs or VMware to create virtual environments, allowing us to run different deployments of our SAP HANA environments. How has the overall control of who has the overall control of sensitive data in the data lake? Well, it would be the security person or the security personnel, but of course, who has access to what data and who can see what would be, of course, influenced by the data architect as well as the security personnel. So the security personnel and the data architects would sit together and they would determine who is able to see what sets of sensitive information. For a regular end user in areas such as Finance, are there any differences in the GUI T codes as compared to SAP AIO? So first of all, the whole interface changes. So typically with this new environment and also in this particular course, we don't even use the GUI. We don't even use transaction codes. So the Fiori interface, as I've mentioned, it is a new interface that is simplified and we don't use transaction codes. So traditionally, for example, let's say if we created sales orders, we would have to execute certain transaction codes that would take us through the process of creating a sales order. With the new user interface called Fiori, we have one tile, and this particular tile has all of the functionality built into it, allowing us to create the same sales order, but without using the SAP Logon GUI and without having to remember a whole host of transaction codes to complete a particular activity. So there are huge differences in the way of we don't even use the SAP GUI anymore. We now use the SAP Fiori interface. The rough cost for SAP certified consultants, the costing for the course, an anonymous attendee, Mr. James, mentioned that pricing to you just before this Q&A session. I do not have software background. Can I still take up SAP HANA? Lena Christie, absolutely yes. This course is designed for you. This course will actually answer that question itself. This course will tell you whether or not HANA is the right thing for you. But as I mentioned, I am the trainer for the course, so I will also take a personal interest. I do take a personal interest in ensuring that people who do not have IT backgrounds or technical backgrounds will not be left behind. So Lena, in your case, again, as I've mentioned, you can just put your hand up or you can put your mic on in the course and you can just say, Linton, you just mentioned column storage. I have no idea what column storage means. Please may you explain it. Or Linton, you've spoken about dynamic RAM or persistent memory. I don't even know what memory is. Please may you explain it, and I will take some time out and I will explain that information to you. So not having a software background is perfectly fine. This course is designed for people like you to get a background or you have to start somewhere. So if you don't have a software background, that's fine, but you obviously need to start somewhere. And the place where you start to developing a IT or software background would be this HA100 course. I have worked with SAP R3 Business One. I am curious, why is the logic for B1 so drastically different from regular SAP? It's just because SAP have redesigned SAP HANA from the ground up. So what actually happened is, okay, I won't be too long with this, but what happened is SAP approached many other software and IT technology producers like Intel, etc., and they had conversations with them and they learned how to build and develop databases themselves. And then SAP went back and they sat down in the SAP labs and they went and they built SAP HANA from the ground up as a future-facing technology. Therefore, they reimagined and they rebuilt the architecture and the logic of SAP HANA so that it is prepared for the future challenges of the IT industry as the IT industry evolves and grows into the future. So another way of saying that is SAP looked at the way that traditional databases worked, and of course realized that those served their purpose for a particular point in time in history, but moving forwards into the future, those traditional architectures and traditional collections of logic weren't really able to support customers moving forward into the future. And so SAP went ahead and built their own HANA database with completely reimagined framework and logic, allowing customers to be forward future facing and allowing customers to take advantage of future technologies. So, Sheikh Yassin, this is Dr. Sheikh. How useful SAP HANA in oil and gas exploration industry? You would have to look at for that for yourself, Mr. Sheikh. I haven't really been involved with that, but if you attend the course, as we move through the material, and hopefully you can be able to find the answers to those questions, and of course I can try to help you along the way as well. So if I mention something in the course that piques your interest, that it catches your attention, you can stop me and say, Linton, how could you please maybe position that in the oil and gas industry? Or maybe you can say, listen, Linton, I heard you mention this concept. Do you think this concept would be applicable in the oil and gas industry in this particular perspective? And then from there, we can have a discussion about the best fit for this HANA course. Just bearing in mind as well, Dr. Sheikh or Mr. Sheikh, this is not a consultation period as well. This is a training lesson where we try to share and spread knowledge across everybody attending in that particular course. But of course, you're more than welcome to ask me at any time, and I will help you understand the information in context of, in this case, oil and gas industry. Okay, which cloud platform is used in this course? AWS, Azure, or GCP? Well, the answer to that is all. Okay, so if you decide to use any of the SAP HANA cloud products or services, you can subscribe to AWS or Azure or Google Cloud Platform or SAP themselves. SAP also provide cloud platforms, and you can use any of those platforms to deploy the SAP solutions onto. Last question. Will I learn how to code on SAP HANA in this class? No, absolutely not. I am not a developer myself. You would need to attend the development course. But what we do discuss in this course is the expectations that will be placed onto a developer. So if you want to become an SAP HANA developer, you would attend this course, and this course would highlight, as I mentioned, the expectations or the key features or functions that a developer would be expected to be comfortable and knowledgeable on so that they can be a productive team member in a HANA environment. Okay, so that's the end of the question and answers. Back to you, James.
Yep, Linton, I think there's just one question that King Singh has asked in the main chat. His question is SAP SaaS platform preferred by European countries enterprise? What's the job prospect? Oh, he just asked it in the question and answer.
Yeah, I can see it there. Is SAP SaaS, software as a service, platform preferred by European countries enterprise? No, I think it's preferred by everybody. So one of the early slides that we talk about in this course is, no, quite simply, it's not really preferred by anyone particular. Everyone around the world uses it. I mean, from my experience, I know that customers in every continent uses these SAS services. So absolutely, there's no particular preference. It's open to everybody. And that's the whole point of what we've been discussing, right? Is we are in 2021. SAP HANA is a future-facing platform. Where we are in the world no longer matters, right? I mean, I'm sitting in South Africa right now, and I'm presenting to most of you sitting in Singapore, but the difference and the space and our geographical location doesn't matter, because we can still access the same services, and we can still receive the same value. So no, I wouldn't really say there's any sort of preference. I think it's the uptake or the traction or the interest is really just specific to the organization and the organization's requirements. And then what is the job prospect in Singapore? That unfortunately, I really cannot tell you. I'm not too sure about job prospects when it comes to Singapore.
Yeah, maybe what I can do is I can provide some context. For Singapore market, in fact, SAP is widely used in the small, medium enterprises as well as MNCs. In Singapore, NTUC FairPrice is a user of SAP. If you talk about the retail industry, Harvey Norman is one of the users for SAP. In the distribution industry, in fact, Ingram Micro, if you guys know, is also a user of SAP. So there are many companies in Singapore that's using SAP. There are a lot of job prospects for SAP. You can actually find out more from the different job portals like LinkedIn, JobsDB, so on and so forth.
Okay, so I see one more question here. Will SAP come with Fiori or is it an option? So technically SAP Fiori is optional, but 99% of customers use Fiori. And when you do like a cloud deployment, you will also be using Fiori as well. So it's a safe bet to say yes. Expect that 90% of the time when you are using a HANA environment, you will be using the Fiori environment because they are made to work together. All right. Okay, that's all from me. Back to you, Mr. James.
All right, good. I think that's all for me as well, and it's a good session that we had with everyone. Please remember, if you're interested to sign up for the course, log into our website or just scan the QR code here, and you can sign up and register for the classes. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you, everybody.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, I think all of them have left. Good job, Leighton. I think as we do more of these webinars, definitely we'll get more signups for the classes. So thanks, Leighton, for the good job.
Yeah, thank you, and same to you as well. I can see both of us are getting better and better at this at every single webinar.
Yes. Got a kind of having this, this relationship, which is good.
I even sit sometimes, like earlier before the session started. I remember sitting in my lounge, just no TV. I was just sitting on my couch and I was just thinking of the best ways to say all these things.
It's good, and you have been very encouraging, especially for those. I think it's good for those with no IT background to hear that they can actually join and take part in this class. So this kind of reduces their fear and give them some confidence.
I made sure to stress exactly that. I made sure to make it clear that if you have no IT background or if you have questions, I will answer them. This course is specifically made for you. So don't be scared, you know, if you don't have a background. This course is designed specifically for you not having a background.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, I think it's been 15 minutes, 6 p.m. Thanks for taking your time.
Can I just ask one question quickly?
Yes.
Yeah. If you don't mind, can we have this presentation uploaded to YouTube instead of the other one? You think that's possible?
This one, yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, hang on. There's someone here.
Okay. Yeah, Yung Chun Lim.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because the reason I ask is the last presentation I did, remember I was looking at that camera here.
Yeah.
And so I was talking like this the whole time. At least this one I was talking into the camera, so it looks a lot more professional.
Oh, okay. Let me check with marketing if they can remove the previous one and upload this one. I'll let you know. Nathan.
Okay, thank you. No pressure if you can't, but I just I take pride in my work, so I would like the best one to be on the internet.
Okay, sure. Thanks,
Okay,
Nathan.
cool.
Thank you.
James, enjoy your weekend. Bye bye.
You too. Bye bye.